welcome to episode 1 of the Sheer Business Inspiration podcast series 2. Today's episode is me, Jo Ferreday, speaking to Lorraine Lewis, who is co-founder and CEO of the multi-award winning charity, the Lewis Foundation. Lorraine is also a public speaker, coach and trainer, and also is a lawyer for the Crown Prosecution Service. I'm sure you will not want to miss this episode. It's going to be jam-packed, full of information about how the foundation has coped during the pandemic and what set Lorraine out on her legal career path and the challenges that she met along the way. Hope you enjoy, and here we are. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of the Sheer Business Inspiration podcast and blog. And it's series 2 already, and I'm really delighted to welcome Lorraine Lewis. Lorraine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to speaking to you.
Well, there's so much to cram in, such a short space of time, but I'm sure we'll manage it really well. So, for those that aren't aware of you and your backstory, Lorraine, can you share with us and our audience why you started the Lewis Foundation?
Yeah, sure. So we started the Lewis Foundation in 2016, and it came about as my mother-in-law being diagnosed with cancer in 2010. So we spent a number of years constantly in and out of the hospitals in Northampton and Leicester, where she was having her cancer treatment. And we just noticed that for people going through treatment, it was a really difficult time. There was a lot of loneliness, there was a lot of boredom, there was isolation. And it was just, even though the nurses were doing an amazing job looking after people, people were still really sad and lonely. And we just wanted to do something to try and make people feel a bit better. And myself and my husband, Lee, were like, well, what can we do? And we used to go to the hospital shop and we used to buy items for people, like just simple things, newspapers, magazines, sweets. And then we'd go around, and after we'd see my mother-in-law, we'd go around and hand it out to people. And then we just spend time with them having a chat. And we just saw the difference it made. And then we thought, let's try and find a way to do this on a more permanent basis. And we came up with, let's say, for charity. I don't know why, because we didn't know what we were doing, but we just wanted to do something to make people feel better because we saw how tough it was for them.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's time. You just said, it's that time. And as much as relatives really want to spend that time, there's a limited amount that you can.
Yeah.
And I think, especially, it can be quite a lonely place, can't it? I mean, I've had relatives that have been in hospitalised, with a similar, with cancer and with other issues. And it's that length of time that, as much as you want to contribute as an individual, as a relative, as a friend, sometimes it's never enough. And I think, it's amazing what you've done, to sort of turn that on its head and provide people that might be sitting there a bit lonely with a little bit of an extra bit of warmth and a bit of thought. So I think that's so lovely. And do you know what, I was really delighted to see that you've had some fantastic recognition from the British Prime Minister as well. Can you share a little bit with us about how your vision's grown? Because I mean, you started out, it's 5 years ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, almost 5 years now. So April this year will be 5 years.
Wow.
And I don't know, like when we started, it was just like we just wanted to help people. So we started on Talbot Butler ward in Northampton General. So my mother-in-law spent a lot of time on that ward. And I don't know, I don't think we had a vision that we will be going to loads of different hospitals. It was literally, we just wanted to find a way to help people. So we didn't have a vision initially, but as we've continued over the years and the more we've given, and then patients will share it with other patients in different areas and the hospitals will share it in different areas, and that's how it's evolved from there.
So how many hospitals do you cover now?
So this year we've taken on another 3, so now it's 14.
Wow.
14, yeah.
Okay. That's that's immense, isn't it? And I'm guessing actually what you're doing is, as wonderful as it was when you started out, actually in the last 12 months, it's so much more needed, because relatives can't go and visit people in hospital, can they? So it's, you know.
No, definitely, that's made a difference, because we've just found that during this pandemic, the hospitals that have contacted us is for that very reason that you've just said. It was like, there's no visiting anymore, and that must be so difficult, because I can't imagine not having, you know, your loved one there to give you that support. So something as simple as a gift, it just like gives somebody like something else to focus on other than what they're going through, and just to pick me up as well, and just let people know that there's people out there that care about them. So
and it's so, honestly, it is really inspiring that I mean, it's great that there's so many, but equally I guess that's the challenge, isn't it, trying to find the volunteers that can support that versus the demand. So how have you found that at this time?
Yeah, I mean, we had to completely adapt, because before we used to pack in our local community centre in Upton. So we'd all come together on a weekly basis. There'll be like 30 of us, and we'd pack the gifts. And that had to stop because of social distancing. But then we've got a system now where people pack in their own homes, so they can still actively get involved. But there's a lot of isolation process, and that you have to isolate the items before they go to the volunteer's house. They pack them, then they're isolated, and then they go back to the hospital. So it is a longer process, but it enables people to still get involved. So all our volunteers are still able to get involved throughout this period as well, which is really good.
That's great.
So nobody's had to stop.
I was going to say, it would be devastating, really, that everybody that's been trying to support and volunteer is not being able to fulfill it. But like you say, there's some extra stages in there. It's a true testament to resilience and not letting it stop you in that respect.
No, it could have stopped, because when we got contacted like 2 weeks before the actual lockdown, the first official lockdown, to say like things are getting really bad, and we initially did think about stopping, but then it was the hospitals were like, you guys, you got to keep going if you can find a way, because people do need that support. So
I think it's such an important support, like you say, that you provide. So absolutely. So what would you say are your long-term aspirations for the foundation? What would you like in the next few years?
Yeah, I think now that we're doing it and we can see that it has a benefit, it's just to continue to spread to other hospitals, and try and help people as much as we can. We just find that it's just amazing, like something so simple like that, you know, I take for granted, like a book or a magazine. It's not something that's simple for somebody in hospital. And it's making a real difference, especially when you get the messages that from people to say how it helped. So we just want to continue to help.
Such a difference to each individual. And like I say, I've known firsthand how my relatives have felt when they've been in hospitalised and had to stay in for the treatment. That time and people sending things, you know, it means a lot. It definitely does. But you are still working full time and running, as well as running the foundation, you're also a full-time lawyer. So how do you find the time to do all of this stuff, Lorraine? I just don't.
It is crazy, don't get me wrong, sometimes it is really, really hard. But when I was going through the whole process with my mother-in-law, I decided I didn't want to be in court anymore. I've been in court for like 8 years in Northampton, but the hours were just too crazy. So there was just no work-life balance, and that period gave me a time to reflect on, actually that was something that was really important. So an opportunity came up to prepare the cases for court, working for the Prosecution Service in London. So that enables me to do the charity work, because I prepare the cases, I could do it from home, and then I can balance it around my day job. So basically, I could do my day job and just dip in and out of the charity work, so do other commitments. Work is really supportive as well. They know what I do, and they're very supportive of it, because they know it's helping people. So that's how I get that balance. If I was in court, it wouldn't have happened. But because I can get to work from home and prepare the cases, it gives me that flexibility. So that's how I'm able to do it.
For me to see that you're able to juggle that role, as well as running the foundation, as I say, it's really inspiring. But like you say, the job that you do preparing the case is they understand, you know, the the backstory, they understand what you're achieving from it. So it's great that they're supporting you as well.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
But, you know, in terms of your role as a lawyer and, you know, that journey, can you share a little bit about that? Because, you know, I think it's important, you know, not only as a female, but also, you know, in terms of where you started from and you know, how you arrived to where you are. I think that story is really important as well, and I think it would resonate with many.
Yeah, sure. So I've always wanted to be a lawyer. So always, when I was very young, because my parents, so they're watching their daytime law programs, daytime shows on TV, and I just loved it. It just seemed like trying to get justice for people just seemed like something that I really wanted to do, another way to help people, basically. And it was something I wanted to pursue, but nobody in my family had ever been to uni before. We didn't know anybody that did law, so it was a battle, actually, because when I expressed to like the careers teachers at school that this was something I wanted to pursue, they were very negative about it, in terms that I wouldn't be able to do it because I'm a woman and I'm black, which as a young child was actually really hard to hear.
That's terrible,
and I remember going, it's awful. And I remember going home and telling my parents, and they were just like, no, you know, don't listen to that. You've still got, if this is what you really want to do, pursue it. And don't let anything hold you back. And I think that's what then I spent the rest of my time doing, is that I really do actually want to do this, so I am going to pursue it and find a way. So it wasn't easy, because I don't know anybody that does law. So to get things like work experience and, you know, to get into the uni that you need to, it was all a learning curve, and just writing to places and trying things.
I just find that so hard, though, because realistically, I mean, not just have one challenge, but two challenges thrown at you by the people that should be guiding you and saying, that's fantastic, look, these are the ways that you can gain that. And I know we think that these things have changed, but, you know, there's still evidence that isn't the case. And I think it's so important, from a very young age, that, you know, our children understand that they can achieve what they set out to, irrespective of, you know, what gender they are and also what colour they are, you know, that they can achieve what they set out to, as in they want to be passionate and do something, you know, whatever it is, that, you know, obviously there's going to be learning elements, obviously there's going to be a pathway, but then how are they guided in that pathway? And I'm just really sad that wasn't the case for you, really. And it's quite heartbreaking, because you could have very easily given up, couldn't you? Do you know what I mean?
And that's the worrying thing about it. Suppose like you are in a position where your parents might not have supported you in that way, and you have given up, when actually there's no reason why you could not have done that. So it was really hard to hear. I mean, I'm sure schools are better in that respect now, I would hope, anyway.
I would as well, but
but it was hard to hear at the time, and it took a lot to overcome that, to be able to get the qualification in the end. But at least I did it, so that's a positive.
Yes, exactly. You had fire in your belly, Lorraine, and that's what was needed, definitely. But I absolutely applaud you for it, and having the courage to just stand up for what you wanted to do, and you achieved it. So that's amazing. What message would you give to those who are considering starting their own business and or, you know, charity at this time? What would you say to people right now?
In terms of like starting something, I think that if there's something that you really want to start, you need to try and give it a go. I think if this period taught us anything, like, we don't know, you know, what's around the corner, and I don't think you should let your fear hold you back. I mean, I'm talking about from my own experience. I had no clue about charities, and I have no shame saying that, because I didn't, and it's been a major learning curve over the years. But if you don't try, you don't know. So you've got to give it a go. You'll learn along the way, and you will make mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, if you've got something that you want to try, and you've looked into all, you know, the best possible ways of delivering that, and you've got that nailed down, then I think you're right. I think I don't think any of us have it really fully mapped out. I mean, like you say, the last 12 months, you know, I really didn't think I'd be doing podcast vlogs and virtual events. You know, it's
exactly.
you know, it's been a massive local for many, but I think that's the thing, you know, if you're running your own business or charity or, you know, whatever, you have to adapt to change, and
definitely,
and as long as you're doing what you set out to, how you do that is, you know, it's all part of the fun, isn't it? It's all part of the journey.
As long as it's legal.
I was going to say, I don't know whether you'd say fun right now, really, whether you would use that as a thing. But
when we look back, it'll be like, yeah, we made it.
we did it. That's the thing, absolutely. What inspires you? What's your key inspiration?
For me, okay, that's a good question. What inspires me is, you know, it's the patients, actually. They don't have a choice, like, and that reminds me, sometimes when I'm struggling, like just moaning like day-to-day stuff, that is really actually not that, there's nothing really to moan about, but you know, where we all have those days where they just seem bad, and then you'll get a message from somebody and they'll explain how they're feeling or what they've been going through, and then it actually puts things into perspective. So they inspire me, like they haven't got a choice yet, they still carry on every single day. So that's
I think that's a great answer, and I'm sure they all would really appreciate you saying that. So you can let them know about the podcast as well, so they can hear it from you. You are a multi-award winning charity, which is so well deserved. And how has the pandemic affected your fundraising at this time?
Yeah, it's been like before COVID, we predominantly relied on fundraising. So once it hit, it was a major, like, what are we going to do? So for the first time, really, we applied for like actual funding, such as like the lottery, and like you got the Northamptonshire Community Foundation. So we were okay. That's how we've been able to get through a lot of it. But what also was amazing was all the businesses that came forward to support us, and individuals. There were businesses doing all these different fundraising activities and challenges that we would never have normally done pre-COVID. And we just had so many people step forward, whether it was fundraising, sourcing products at that time when all the shelves were stripped. There were still people out there managing to find things for us. And that's how we've been able to keep going. So even though it has been really difficult and we haven't fundraised in the normal ways in terms of doing events, everybody's been really creative actually in terms of like, okay, we need to make this work. Like, what can we do to make it happen? So we've been able to keep going and keep getting all the gifts out every month. So yeah, it's affected us, but actually it's made us think differently about different things we can do.
And I guess in lots of ways, I mean, I don't know if you found this, but I think connections and contacts are so much more honed in on each other and how you can support each other, whereas in the normal world everybody's just squirreling away and busy beavering all over the place. And I'm not saying you don't recognize or spend time with those people, but I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's not as intentional, whereas now it's like you were intentionally doing that fundraiser or doing that thing to you know, ramp up that awareness and recognition. And I think that's what I've noticed about this last 12 months is that it's a lot more of a community feel about everything.
I can definitely feel that I never felt before. Shame it's this horrible situation to make it happen.
I know.
But there is the sense of community and people like wanting to come in forward and say, can I help you? Can I do anything? Way more than we had before. So there's definitely been a shift.
I think so. So, you know, in terms of our audience, there's going to be many people that, I mean, they may have relatives that are suffering or themselves. We may have people that have been made redundant and just at a loss. People that are really, really feeling a bit fed up of all of this, to be honest, and trying to be as positive as possible. But what message of hope would you give to people right now in terms of, you know, what this year can bring and what they can do to bring positive change for themselves?
Yeah, and I just think people need to realise, like, don't be too hard on yourself. I know it's difficult, but we're all doing an amazing job of being in a situation that we've never been in before, and that you're not alone, and that you can reach out and connect with people. It doesn't, obviously not in person, but online, or, you know, just drop your neighbour a message, or just, there's so many different ways you can just do these little small things just to check in and let people know, you know, make sure everyone's okay, basically, and let people know that you're okay. Because I've had situations where, like, you could tell people are struggling and they don't want to say anything, but just that reaching out, it might be just something simple like sending a card or, you know, writing a letter, just letting people know, you know, we're all in this together. We're not on our own. And don't put so much pressure on yourself. You're not failing.
I think that's a really good message, because I think lots of people, I mean, social media it's a great thing, but it can also be negative. So lots of people might be seeing someone who might be doing lots of baking or might be doing lots of different things, and then the other person's like, oh my god, I'm struggling to even get out of bed, and I don't want that rammed in my face, you know. And I think that's the thing. And, you know, I agree with the term that, you know, we are all in different boats, but we're in the same storm. And it, you know, everybody's in their own little nichey things, but we are in the same big, in essence, the big storm. So it's been, I think, non-judgmental and, like you say, supporting each other, isn't it, through it all? So tell us what's next for the charity. Tell us what you've got planned. What are your grand plans next?
So we turned 5, which is great, actually. I didn't even think we'd make that. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? But when we started, I didn't. So that's a really big achievement.
Yes, it is.
Hopefully we'll get to celebrate at some point, I'm sure, this year. But I think for us, it's just going to be, just continuing to try and support people as much as we can. And I'm sure what that will mean at the hospitals, because we do have been contacted by other hospitals, to provide our support. So I think it's just going to be trying to just spread kindness to as many people as possible, just so they know they're not alone.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that is amazing, and we will share all of your links, because, you know, people can sort of do a standing order, can't they, each month? They can do. I know there's been lots of fundraising that's been taking place recently. So what we'll do is we'll share all of those links, and obviously if people want to donate or they want to set up a standing order, they can do. But thank you so much for being a guest on here, and wish you every success, and, you know, congratulations on your 5-year milestone. Just, it is amazing what you're doing, and I'm hoping that this will help to make other hospitals aware of the great work that you do.
Thank you. Lovely to speak to you, Jo.
Great to speak to you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Lorraine, for joining me today. I know that our audience will really have enjoyed listening to, you know, your journey to date, not only with the Lewis Foundation, but also, you know, your views and your thoughts, for being brave enough to share the challenges that you faced. And I'm hoping that it will help many, many people to stand up for what they believe in, and to, you know, tread sometimes the uncertain path, but sometimes the path that you find yourself on, and trust your gut instinct. So thank you so much for being brave enough to share that with us, and we wish you every success, not only with the Lewis Foundation, but you personally as well, in the future. We will be sharing the links so people know how to volunteer, donate, and get involved. So thanks again, you've been a great guest. If you'd like to listen to Series 1 of the Sheer Business Inspiration podcast and vlog, you can take a look at Series 1. All of the episodes will be on there. We are on a range of different podcast channels. So just look up Sheer Business Inspiration. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, we have got all of the vlogs on there as well. And our next, we're really excited about our next guest. So for episode 2, we are going to be chatting with Wesley Mende. And Wesley is the CEO and founder of Prestige Events Magazine, Cool Venue Awards, and 2020 Speed Networking. And honestly, he's been doing this for the last 17 years. And do you know what? He's alongside many other
people. He's one of the truly inspiring leaders in our industry. So I can't wait to be chatting with him and hearing all about his journey, not just leading up to now, but also during the pandemic. But I won't give anything away. I want you to obviously listen in. If you would like to ask Wesley any particular questions at all, you can connect with us on all of our social media channels. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram and Pinterest. So please don't be shy. Please do share any questions that you'd like us to ask him. And we look forward to sharing that episode with you as well. But for now, thanks for listening.